Espanola came to attend their special council meeting tonight at 6 p.m.
I was gonna speak. I don't think I'll speak today.
Oh, it's locked.
I don't like anything that's on the, oops, it's locked. That's on the YouTube and all that stuff.
You don't like that?
No, no.
Why? It's new technology.
I think I'm even open it to the public.
Mm-hmm. This is the new police chief's ride. This is Mezal Garcia's new patrol vehicle. He used to have a Chrysler 300. Now he has this Jeep Cherokee, black on black. Just bought. Brand new. There's a city vehicle. What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining me once again. I appreciate it. I guess the doors are finally open. Let's go see what this special fake budget meeting's about. Look, there's Brenda. Good afternoon, good evening, Mr. Ledoux.
How's it going? It's a budget meeting. Right now, everyone's in the back room.
Oh, you just broke everything here.
He'll be on soon anyway.
Is everybody in the back chit-chatting? They ain't invite you? And say, come join us back here. We would like your input. Sorry, guys. chief got a new ride, huh?
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it? A new ride, a new ride. April Moya's the only one that's gonna do this budget?
No, that would be my comment right now. No, 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 before we walk straight.
Oh, Marla?
Marla, yeah.
I haven't seen either one of them today.
How was their show?
It looks different. You guys had more chairs or what? That's what it looks different. Our setup different.
No, I think these, it looks like they spaced it. Like the space is wider.
Is Eric here?
Came right into the meeting.
There's no city manager report.
I guess technically it's leader.
There's a city councilor. A city councilor right here. His name's Pedro Valdez. He doesn't like to be on camera, but he's an elected official. This guy right here. He doesn't like to be on camera. He doesn't like YouTube, but he's an elected official. Aaron, ¿cómo
Good, how
estamos?
are you doing?
Good, thank you. Good, how you been?
Good, good.
How much stuff did you guys give out?
Nothing.
Yeah, we have like 100 backpacks. And 234 didn't even open before they started around the I know, man. We were cleaning up those folders, and that's all we had to handle.
Hey, when he say free stuff, they show up.
Oh yeah, the chief is here. There's all his belongings. Little Mizell, little guy.
It was quick. It was fun. It was good to see. This is the work that they're doing.
Another counselor that doesn't like YouTube.
Yeah, he was a big basketball player in high school.
That doesn't like YouTube. Just kidding. You're okay, you're okay. You're not gonna talk? Oh. No, just.
I'm gonna wait and see what ends up happening before I talk, just in case things change.
Man.
Last meeting was pretty much.
There's an MIA person. Hey, how much did that Jeep cost?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
It was in the budget, I don't know. I got someone that ordered it for me. It was in the budget, they went over it about a year ago. Why? It's the same as a Durango. I have a budget, I pay the same as everyone else. It's not like the 300 that was bought before I got it.
How come you didn't keep the 300? What was?
It was 4 years old, I gave it to you as a gift.
Oh.
They even more than I do now. Yeah, cars are the same. Cars they all cost the same. You get the same cost.
How come you didn't throw me peace today when I threw you peace when you're driving by the bridge?
I was on the phone.
It's good intentions.
Are you on the phone driving? Isn't that
I
illegal?
had Bluetooth. I had Bluetooth.
Ah, it's okay. People do illegal things all the time.
That's why there's us. Our cars have Bluetooth. My car
My car
has Bluetooth.
does. What about speakerphone? Does that work?
As long as you're not distracted, as long as it's hands-free.
I thought you couldn't have a headset either.
You can't have a headset, but I mean, some people put it on the dash and speakerphone.
So somebody wants me to tell you, Mizell. Tell Mizell, the guy that made the homemade Furies wheel 53 years ago, says hi. I don't know. It says there's a comment here. It says, tell Mizell, the guy that made the homemade Ferris wheel 53 years ago, says hi. You know who he is? No? He doesn't know who you are.
Not according to that made 53-year-old Ferris wheel.
That made a homemade Ferris wheel 53 years ago. Oh, he is here. That piece of shit right there. Looks like he just got out of bed. Oh, this guy right here is a piece of shit. It looks like he just got out of bed. Look at his hair. There's these other pieces of shit that we saw today.
Hey, Zach, hey, for tomorrow, we set with all that stuff. Maybe I'll show it.
So that everyone's present. Okay. As long as we have to have, according to the municipal league, we need to have a majority of the entire body to have to adopt the budget.
No, that's fine. Let's just get that stuff in. Everything back tomorrow. Make sure for tomorrow, make sure we're there. And close the meeting tomorrow and back. Tomorrow, I go to the- come home.
Johnny, little Johnny, the fire department guy. Here's a piece of shit too. That's the mayor. That little fucker right there. He's a mayor. That's a piece of shit. Pussy. He said that you called him a terrible realtor.
52 years ago, I wouldn't pay him for the kid. On the house.
I don't know. So-called terrible realtor too, is what he said. What's up, everyone? Thanks for coming in. All the way from England, a la madre. Amsterdam, a la madre. Oh, the mayor, yeah, that dude's an idiot. That guy right there. So it's budget night. Budget night.
Brenda, can you go? Oh.
Can we get copies too? Oh, I can read it. Or who do I speak to? I can see it. If it's ready available, I can see it without being IPRA. It's according to the New Mexico Inspection of Public Records Act. It's called inspection, where I can inspect them in person. The meeting hasn't even started. What the hell? You can't talk. Don't let them control you, Brenda. The meeting hasn't started yet.
Are you ready, Brenda? Are you ready, Carla?
Let's get this show on the road.
And then Carla, when we do roll call, announce publicly who's on Zoom. So that they are present in the meeting if they're attending via Zoom. Good evening, everyone. This is a special meeting of the Espanola City Council for Monday, July 29th. This is a meeting to primarily adopt the budget for FY25. The time is 6:06. Would you
Recording
please
in progress.
would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Councilor Pedro Valdez will lead us in invocation.
Father, we thank you again for being able to come to this meeting. Bless the wonderful Holy Spirit to guide us in adopting this budget that's prepared. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to come for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you to all the council that is here this evening for this special meeting. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
And please, counselors, I know it's not on Teresa, but make sure you're speaking into your mics because the meeting is being recorded. I guess it has come up in the past now with Elizabeth, they're not picking up because people aren't turning on their mics.
Counselor J. Salazar,
Present.
Counselor Pedro Valdez,
Here.
Counselor Samuel Ledoux,
Here.
Counselor Nanette Rodriguez,
Present.
Counselor Denise Benavides, Counselor Felicia Chuleta Toya, and she's on Zoom.
She needs to acknowledge.
Counselor Felicia on Zoom.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres on Zoom.
Present.
We have a quorum, 8-0.
All right, thank you, Ms. Martinez. Members of the governing body, before you have the agenda for this evening, it's a very,
Motion to approve, except I'd like the opportunity to switch these around so that we could do the final quarter of last year first, and then, oh, I'm sorry, you're correct, it's coming back.
no, it's not. B is,
It's back.
you want to review the fourth quarter financial report, you want to have that before the adoption of the FY 25 budget.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I have a, okay, thank you, Council. So I have a motion to move item B of the action items regarding the fourth quarter report to be before the adoption of the FY 25 budget by Mayor Pro Tem Pedro Martinez, second by Councilor Pedro Valdez. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor, oh, we still have people on Zoom, forgive me. Would the clerk please call the roll? The motion is to adopt the agenda with the amendments.
Counselor Peggy Sue, Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez.
In favor.
Counselor Aaron J. Salazar.
In favor.
Counselor Pedro Valdez.
Yes.
Counselor Samuel Ledoux.
Yes.
Counselor Nanette Rodriguez.
For the motion.
Counselor Denise Benavides.
In favor.
Counselor Felicia Chuleta Toya on Zoom.
In favor. In favor.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres on Zoom.
In favor.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you, members of the body. We have public comment. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes this evening. We are signing with the clerk, Ms. Martinez.
Stephen, and I need you to complete the address and everything.
I don't have it. These people are leaving. Yeah, like people, one is, you know, you talk to people how you want, as a public servant. These people aren't your employees. These people work for the people of the city, not for you. The same way you are, the same way she is, the same way she is, the same way he is, she is, and he is. They work for the city of the people. They don't work for you. Just because you're a boss, they don't work for you. We'll get that straight. Each and every single one of you let this piece of shit attack a counselor a while back. And none of you guys came into Robert's rules and called point of order, while this guy was attacking this guy. When this guy tried to defend himself, Peggy said point of order because he was stepping up for himself. But you didn't do point of order when this guy was attacking you. There's no Robert's rules here. You guys have no decorum here. You guys like to bash people and call people out. Who cares what people post, bro? This is 2020, bro. This is the new technology. Who cares? You're looking at a post about your personal life, about your whole family, bro. All the documents I have, bro, regarding you. You don't do that. That's cowardice. You're supposed to work together and all this other bullshit, that's stupid. That's stupid what you guys do. You're an idiot, bro. You're the biggest piece of shit the city has ever gotten into. You're lucky there hasn't been any lawsuits regarding you, bro, because you're an idiot. Sorry, I ain't gonna touch your stuff. But with that being said, fuck you, Eric, you piece of shit. Fuck you, Penny, you piece of shit. And fuck you, John, you piece of shit. I love you, man. You're awesome. It's on the shot.
Time's up.
Okay. Moving on, items proposed for council consideration.
Point of order.
Action items. Before you, you have the resolution 2024-32, acceptance of the FY 2024 fourth quarter financial report ending June 30th, 2024, presented by Finance Director April Moya. Someone make an extra one, because when fish comes back physically, we don't need it right now. We'll need it when she comes back. Just have one ready.
What page are we starting on the final quarter?
We're starting with quarter four. And there's 2 pages to that, front and back. Yes. Okay, so, good morning or good evening, wherever we are, I have no idea what time of day it is, but, Mayor Pro Tem, councilors, city manager, public in front of you, and on the screen, first page, page 1 of 2, you'll see the quarterly reporting recap for quarter 4 for FY 2024. This is the submission that we are getting ready to submit to Department of Finance on July 31st. If you start with the first line of the general operating fund, you will see that we had $12,676,818.53 in revenues that came in. Expenditures came in the amount of $13,092,619.46. This top portion may get a little bit confusing for you, so I wanted to give you that part first, because that's the most important part, is what was came in revenues and what was taken out in expenditures. So obviously, you see we had a shortfall in that number, please. The starting cash for the fiscal year 24 was what was built into the budget when they built the FY 24 budget. Investments were left out of the original budget when it was submitted to DFA for fiscal year 24, so I have added those in. That is $7,525,439, made up of multitude of investments such as CDs and savings accounts. Then you go over to the adjustments. In case you have questions on the adjustments, there's just 1 or 2 of them in there, and that is based on any funds that didn't have enough to cover. We transfer that into the general fund or out of the general fund to borrow to cover those specific funds. You'll see that ending balance of $9,493,117.16. Which seems like a very big balance, but again, it's because those investments weren't originally in the FY 24 and now they are, so that includes that balance. Do you have any revenue and expenditure number? Okay, so if you get your $12,676,818.53 minus your $13,092,619.46 in expenditures, you have a variance of, $415,800.93 that the general fund sits at the end of fiscal year 24. In the negative.
Where's that figure at?
What line item are you on? I'm sorry.
They're on the first line.
We're on the general operating fund.
The $400,000 talking about is the difference between the 13,
Between the revenue and the expenditure.
right.
Correct.
I don't see the
The number's not gonna populate, the number's not gonna populate because we added the investments in. So it's cash plus revenue, plus investments, plus revenues, then you minus your expenditures, your adjustments, you get your final balance of 9,493,000. You don't really need to, I mean, you need to know as an FYI what the investments are, but the most important thing in the final quarter report is to see what the final revenues were and the final expenditures, and that's why I didn't wanna confuse you. So that large balance of 9 million is because it includes the investments amounts of 7 million.
So the adjustments, where do you get this 194 from? What is that adjusted from?
From the municipal street. So the revenues weren't enough to cover the expenditures, so there was a transfer done to cover that. We can't submit any balances in a negative with DFA. So for example, if you have a grant, this is the grant, this is municipal street, but if you didn't have, say if you had a grant and you got less revenues than you had in expenditures, because we hadn't done a drawdown, we'll borrow from the general fund to cover that temporarily, and that's what was done because there was two negatives there. One negative, and I had to do a transfer there to balance that out. So that's just a temporary adjustment, just to zero out the balance. So that way it doesn't look like municipal street if you go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 items down to 21600. Or to the 210 fund that belongs to streets. They had more expenditures this year than they had in revenues.
So the CD savings account and the investments that we have, I really like for finance committee to take a look at that. It's a big possibility that there's better interest rates than there was even 6 months ago. So I'm really interested in knowing what the interest rate is on those CDs and what the interest rate is on the investment. Also, I'd like us to start looking into the governmental investment fund and see if that's possible too. There's a portion of this, not entirely, because I think it's important to invest in banks here within our community, but I also think that it's important to look at it and decide what percentage we'd like to continue with that. But I know that if these CDs were renewed more than 5 months ago, it's probably a good possibility that the interest rate we're getting is sort of low compared to what it is today. And it might be worth the penalty to take it out and reinvest it in a better interest rate. So it's something to look at from the committee, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Tim. I think that's an excellent idea. A lot of these CDs were opened fiscal year 23, I believe. A lot of them were brand new, they just got renewed. So I think we should take a good look at how we're investing that money. And I think it should have been invested differently, but it's tied up right now.
I think it's something that we always talk about the governmental investment fund, but we've never really had anybody from there come and address us. I think that would be interesting. And then, like I said, the interest rates have gone up from 0.01% on the CD a year ago is now collecting 4.99%. That's a lot of money when you have $7 million invested different. So I think it's worth our time and energy to look at those investments and see if it's possible that we could be doing that.
I agree, Mayor Pro Tem, and additionally, I really want us to start looking, April, all the work you guys do, but we really need to look at the revenue bonds. A lot of them are coming up on their 20-year lifespan. They're coming to their maturity. We need to look at that and see if there's values there. In addition, going back to the interest rates and such, the bonding capacity here at the city has greatly improved in the last 20 years, so we should be able to actually roll those revenue bonds and be able to excise more money out of those revenue bonds that were first taken out in the 2000s. And I know I've talked with Councilor Valdez about this, and a lot of those revenue bonds were taken out when we were here on the council. But those revenue bonds, the other day we were talking about some special projects and getting some stuff done. Those revenue bonds are another access revenue source for producing some capital projects here in the city, and in addition to that government investment fund.
Thank you. I think that's a great idea. We haven't had a lot of time to spend on that because there's been a lot of other work in trying to figure this out, but that's definitely would be a high priority to look into.
Thank you, April. Does anyone else, Councilor Madhu?
Can you give us some examples of some of the adjustments that have had to have been made?
I'm sorry?
Could you give us some of the examples of the adjustments that were made in order to move things around in this
you talking about is specific to the budget or in general? This final quarter reporting, okay, define adjustments for me, please.
You said that you had to move money around to cover other costs. You gave some of the things that made those costs.
I think she was talking about that adjustment that is that 194,694 that was utilized, from municipal streets, you said?
Correct. It was, so basically, yes, so what happened is in municipal street, which is, specifically for roads, for the streets, they didn't get it as the anticipated revenue that we had anticipated, so there was more expenditures, so we borrowed money from the general fund to cover that, so that we could zero out the reporting to the Department of Finance. I haven't done any other adjustments, I didn't really need to do any other ones. There were a lot of transfers that were done in the past that Marla and I have been working really hard on trying to figure out. There were transfers that were started, which are somewhat equal to an adjustment. Adjustment is, with DFA, an adjustment is a temporary, like, loan. If you have to borrow from one fund to the other, you're gonna pay it back. A transfer on the other hand, is, say, for example, sanitation ran out of flowing, we had like $1 million deficit in sanitation. So they had to borrow money from the general fund, so we would have to move a transfer from one fund to the other to cover those. But in essence, everything comes out of the general fund, except for fire, lodger's tax, what else do we have? Opioid, there's only a few that actually have a separate bank account, but realistically, everything comes out of one pocket. It's just the way we report, because DFA requires that every grant is broken up on our budget different. If there's any, gasoline tax that goes specifically, like say for, the streets fund, that's how they're funded, is through, not the general streets, but the special streets comes up from gasoline tax. So anytime they don't have enough revenue, well, we have to find revenue to cover. I hope that answers your question.
So, well, my question was like, was there any specific projects, or was it just the general operations of streets that caused this, like, was it just the revenue loss, or was there unexpected costs?
No, there wasn't any unexpected costs. I mean, obviously, I said multiple times that when I came in late October, there was already a lot of, budget lines that had already been overexpended. Can't go back and change that later. All I could do was just control the spending and slow down. The only thing that I can say is we had some big expenditures for projects that were already anticipated. For example, like the firehouse in La Jolla, that was a big project that they spent $2 million, I think, to date. They hadn't drawn down a lot of those funds. So with that said, there had to be some adjustments done and money moved around to fix that until we got that revenue back, which we've received since then. But nothing that was not approved in advance.
And just for purposes of clarity, if there was a situation where you had an adjustment like that, that would have to come back before the governing body as a bar adjustment, correct?
Yes. Small adjustments within or like on a quarterly basis. There's different bars that require council approval from DFA, and then there's internal bars that aren't required. So if one of the directors comes and says, well, I have $300,000 in my budget, just say, I don't know, recreation, and she has 15 line items to spend within that $300,000. If she wants to bar part of travel into another line item, we can do that internally without council approval. It's other bars, bringing in new revenue, bringing in, like say a street project that you guys wanted to do and it's gonna cost $500,000, we have to bring it to you guys to approve it, to do a budget adjustment to add it to our budget. Does that answer the question?
It does. I think very satisfied with that. If you look at the adjustments column, you can sort of tell what adjustments have been made, and there's only 2 adjustments there, and both of them deal with municipal streets, so I'm very satisfied with that. One other thing that I want to bring up is that E911 fund is really not part of our, budget. We're the fiscal agent, E911, it's a pass-through, exactly. Right.
So as a fiscal agent, we just act on behalf of receiving their revenues and paying their bills, basically. So it doesn't come out of, other than the percentages the city puts into the JP.
And that's important for the new councils to understand that if there's overages in the E911 budget, they're split between entities. Only gets 33%, City of Espanola gets 32%, and the other partnerships get 33%. So if E911 goes over by $300,000, to 5%, but we've never done it.
Yeah, we're just gonna say, is that something?
I think it's fair, I realize it's a lot of work,
Our
and
staff works on doing the payroll, and I know that the manager has briefed that to me as well, that we work on the payroll, and we handle all that aspect, and so, I mean, at least if we could see 1% come back to an administrative fee.
if you girls could do me a favor and make sure that we're not currently paying an administrative fee or a fee to, 911 is not paying a fee to the city. And then if they are paying a fee, please let me know what that amount is.
They're not.
You're not? Okay, so I'll bring it up in the board meeting and see if we can get that.
And I would think it'd be good and helpful to bring it up at this point. And then obviously, I mean, work with the overages, and there's room for negotiation there, okay?
No, I think it's a good idea because I know that, we do their payroll, we do their bill paying, and of course we've done it with our own, but
And then we do their utilities, I mean, in our facility.
we're plus in kind buildings and everything.
Well, of course, and I'm thinking more the administrative costs to just put back into fixing up the facility, because I understood it just going in and talk to Josh. There's some things that they would like to do, they would approve to the building, and we could put that investment back into the facility further.
Okay.
And if I can add to that, we also pay their payroll and their benefits, PERA, all of that, so we pretty much do everything for them. Which is time and resources out of my department.
Absolutely. I'll bring it up, we'll put it on the agenda as an item and see if we can come to some kind of conclusion with that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Does anyone else have anything on that? I wanted to talk about the lodger's tax. April, if I'm correct, then, so we have a rollover. We have 227,000 balance with the
Correct.
lodger's tax.
Yes. Well,
Can you
so,
explain that? Yeah.
the 998,046 was the cash that was, put into the original FY '24 budget. Again, I'm not sure how they got those balances, I'm still trying to determine quite a bit of them. But that was the starting cash. Our expected revenues are about 81,000, that's why I put the budget for 81,910. We have, I'm sorry, that's what the revenue was set up to begin with, I'm sorry. And then we had expenditures of 52,000, so that brings us, yes, to the 227.
And then on top of that, I know I've talked with the manager and the clerk. We have some businesses that aren't paying lodger's tax, and so we need to really get on that. And then we also need to look and ensure that all the businesses and the Airbnbs and the VRBOs, they're contributing to lodger's tax as well.
Yes, so I looked over the ordinance and figured out how to deal with that and how to reach out to each of the hotels slash motels on that in reference to starting to collect lodger's tax. As far as the Airbnb, I'm not really sure how we're gonna address that to determine who has Airbnbs, but I think we could bring a lot more lodger's tax in if everybody was paying.
Like, for instance, Ms. Kata Bennett, who serves on the lodger's tax board, she was not paying into it at all. She had no idea. She had to get a hold of Airbnb to ensure that it was coming directly here to the municipality, because by state law, the municipality is responsible for collecting the lodger's tax. So she had to get a hold of Airbnb to do that. And so we have quite a few Airbnbs in the city, and we need to ensure and get in contact with them to ensure that they're directing their appropriation back to the city of Espanola. And like I said, Ms. Bennett has 6 Airbnb units within the city.
Okay. Yeah, right now, I believe we only have 3 hotels that are paying lodger's tax, that's why the fund is so small.
Councilor, just to follow up on that, Mayor, I know that some other counties and cities, what they've done is they've passed an ordinance specific to those short-term rental operators, and then they form the companies, the largest ones such as Airbnb, and often those companies will work to build it into their fees so that we deal with those large entities directly rather than trying to contact each individual renter. So that's something that we may want to consider.
Okay, so that was my question to Rogers. Did we have any other questions regarding the line items from the fourth quarter?
Opioids on there brand new, the opioid hadn't really, they had accounted for some cash in there, but we hadn't really been reporting on that in the past. So you'll see what our total revenues there came in this year at 1,112,707.72. We did not, report any expenditures, of course, because we haven't spent anything out of opioid yet.
Prior to the hire of this.
Correct, but we still haven't taken any of that opioid because I have asked that the, social services director, put together a plan of what she intends to spend an opioid and present it to the council for approval before we do any expenditures, and then we will present that as a budget adjustment to the Department of Finance at that time.
Can you, go over with us, April, intergovernmental grants, what's the difference between that and state funded projects?
Okay, so, intergovernmental funds,
Grants, 21,800.
and what other one are you talking about?
What's the difference between that and the state funded project, because, I mean, we don't get any other outside entity money from intergovernmental grants, other than the state. and federal.
That's what they are, 21,800. So the numbers you see on the far left-hand side where it says fund, and you see like 21,800, 21,400. Those are the Department of Finance chart of our accounts. And then I could show you on the BSR on ours. So 21,800 encompasses, 12 accounts internal to the city, which is the 104, 103, 107, 108, 110, 111, 112, 117, 119, 122, 125, 126. And I know it don't mean a lot to you guys, but if you look at the BSR, when you look at the FY25 budget, it'll make more sense that you can apply each grant. So again, as I stated earlier, it would be nice if we just put everything in the general fund and let everything come out, but the state wants everything separated, so that includes our own budget. And their budget that we report to them has to have each line item separate for the grants, that way they to see the difference when the grant comes in. So all those are intergovernmental grants. There's other ones there too. Yes, all specialty grants, yeah, any grant we get, there goes inside that one unless they're specific to law enforcement, unless they're specific to seniors. Let's see what else we have that would be separate. The state legislative appropriation project, that's grants too, but those are legislative stuff. So basically any intergovernmental DOT, aging and long-term, library grants, anything like that falls under that.
That's a social services director. That's a social services director right there. Her name's Michelle. She's supposed to be at the, I can't get to this.
So, well, so 21900 is specific for 319, chart of accounts. That's not on the budget, that wasn't here on the budget when I started. The senior center or the senior department is rolled into, community services. So that's all reported against the general fund. I need to ask DFE why that's separated, for what reason the 21,900, but that cash that was reported was in there before I started, and there was never any reported first or second quarter. So I will have to look into that, but the revenues and expenditures are included in the general funds in the breakdown. So it only has, what, maybe 15, 20 line items between the front and the back, but if you would actually go through this thing, it's 7 or 8 pages of just different line items. This is a roll-up, is what it is. So I don't know why it's separated like that. It might be specific to grants or something, I'm not really 100% sure, but I can find out. But everything is reported from the senior center, for the senior. They could even have been in there from a rollover from before, because we can add lines every time. So if we have another line that we need to add, it might even, like later on during the year, say second quarter, something comes up, we might add another line to the budget through a bar. So it might have just been, remember they rushed through the budget last year too, so it could have just been an oversight. We might have just added an error, I don't know.
I know there was a talk of reformatting at one time, so that could have been part of that.
So, on the other revenue bond debt service, I know we have quite a few revenue bonds out. Where's the service charge for those getting paid out of? And specifically regarding the interest. Thank you.
Hey guys, question, did we take a recess or did my phone just cut out?
No, Counselor.
I thought we were in a library, bro.
We're here, looking at some numbers and we're just reviewing stuff.
Okay, great, sorry, it just sounds very far away. Thank you.
Our computers run very slow in this room. I apologize. I'm gonna have to research that. I'm looking at the FY 2024 budget. When we set it up, and maybe that's why there was nothing in there, because that's under the chart of accounts, it comes under 405 and 406 for the other revenue bond debt service, which is our internal budget. And all we did in there was they did some transfers, but I don't see where we're capturing that, so I'm gonna have to do some more research on that.
Yes.
To see where it's on the number. I apologize, I don't have an answer for you on that right now, but I will get an answer.
It's all right.
But I can assure we have it on our.
I really do think that we need to have a special session principle this. I really want us to get to the bottom of the revenue bonds because they're going to come up on the third of the
Now, are we ready for a motion to,
Yeah, I wasn't hearing any more questions from the governing body.
I'll go ahead and motion to approve resolution, sorry.
Can we-
Go ahead and motion to approve resolution 2024-32, acceptance of the FY 2024 fourth quarter financial reporting ending June 30th, 2024.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez to adopt resolution 2024-32, second by Councilor Pedro Valdez. Any discussion? There be no discussion, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor?
Councilor Aaron Salazar,
In favor.
Councilor Pedro Valdez,
Yes.
Councilor Samuel Ledoux,
Yes.
Councilor Nanette Rodriguez, Councilor Denise Benavides, Councilor Felicia Chuleta Toya,
In favor.
Councilor Justin Salazar Torres.
In favor.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you members of the governing body. Thank you, Ms. Moya, for all your hard work to compile that fourth quarter report. Thank you, April and Marla. Resolution 2024-33, acceptance and approval of the FY 2025 budget presented by Finance Director April Marla.
So in front of you again, off again, I'm sorry, keep turning that off.
Yeah, and make sure it
Good.
goes by, yeah.
I just don't want to be screaming because I have a lot of voice. Okay, so FY 2025 final budget in front of you. The next page looks like this. I'm sure we all have it. We've seen this a multitude of times, and we're going to review it again. FY 2025 report, I will break it up however you would like me to, but the final pictures at the bottom, total anticipated revenue for fiscal year 25 is $15,182,783.20. Carryover that we've calculated is from 2024 is $88,594.38. Less the anticipated expenditures of $15,271,377.58. The carryover funds are to cover encumbrances for appeals from the prior year that were left open through FY 2025. Excuse me. This gives us a balanced budget to submit to the Department of Finance on the general fund. You will see the breakdown of each department. If you want to go through those one at a time again for each department and how much is budgeted for each department for revenues and expenditures.
Councilor Revere.
I just have one quick question on the overall anticipated revenue. There's been quite a few business closures the last year or so. Have you factored in those closures into your anticipation of your projected revenue sources?
No, we haven't. Council would do, at this point, we're just trying to recover funds that haven't been paid to the city to bring in enough revenue to be able to create a balanced budget for this fiscal year, but that is something that we can definitely do. I know there's also new businesses opening right now as well.
And then additionally on that, the records in the clerk's department, we have 3-4 years going back where some business haven't paid their business license. I want to verify an ordinance, and the attorney's not here, but I believe we are maxed out at $35. If the clerk can do some research about that. I heard from, yeah.
The thing is about business license here is, you always want to be business friendly and you want your businesses to register. It's so critical to be able to work with the business community and have them have faith in the city that they're providing for. So if you raise a business license, it's like, they get raised on trash, they get raised on this, they get raised on that. And I think if the city of Espanola is a little bit patient with them and they work with the business community, it ends up playing in our favor. One thing that I'd like to see the city of Espanola adopt is maybe monthly classes with new businesses on how to do their own ERPs and how to file those. I think that would help a young business person to better understand that process. And we could probably do those like maybe once a month for free. Just have somebody from the clerk's office or somebody help us from finance to help them figure their stuff out, whether it's quarterly, 20 monthly, or biannually, or annually. I think that would probably benefit us. Also, the possibility of maybe working with a small business agency out of the college and seeing if they're interested in maybe sponsoring something like that. And actually, when a new business comes into Espanola, especially small business, maybe connecting them with a mentor, connecting them with somebody at the small business center to help them to understand how important it is.
Mayor Procurement, I'm not disagreeing with you about the charge, it's just, even the last 2 years, we've expanded how we do business licenses. The fire department takes time out to go do inspections. It's not anymore just processing the paperwork for naming the businesses with an actual storefront. So we need to take that into consideration as well, because we're spending time and effort, and the fire marshal's out there for sometimes 2-3 hours working the paperwork. And it's kind of hard to justify that $35 for some of those businesses. I'm not talking about small little mom and pop shops, but like Chili's in these situations where they're taking time I know at the Zia credit union situation now that they relocated temporarily, I mean, the fire department's been out there a couple hours at least a day for the last couple of weeks, and so, these are things that are just way more than just $35.
Do we have a schedule set up for that though? Do we have a charge set up for that?
Yeah, square footage.
And it's $50 for smaller businesses and then it goes up according to square footage, right? But if the fire department hasn't done the inspection, then we don't charge that portion until that inspection gets done, correct?
Right now, we're doing new businesses inspections, so we're in the process of trying to set up everything to do, yearly inspections.
And they renew their license every
With
year.
yearly licenses.
Understood.
And there's a lot of businesses that go back 4 or 5 years that have not.
Yep.
Even gotten their business license, and,
So one thing to do with that is maybe sending somebody from the clerk's office out as a code enforcement officer.
well, I'm hoping that, I was gonna talk about it later, we budgeted for a third code enforcement person. We've been spending code enforcement's time and effort towards dealing with the unhoused population for the last several years, at least even when I was a counselor, and we really need to start putting at least one code enforcement person back on nuisance properties of business and the actual working on municipal code. That's why it's so important for that aspect. Because I know the clerk's office is really short-staffed, and the code enforcement officers, they have to be very knowledgeable about the code specifically. Absolutely.
There's a guy, his name's Tony Martinez, he's a code enforcement, he doesn't know shit about the codes here. He came from Memphis.
Try to encourage, some of the businesses that could go online to do so and still collect those revenues, but still have less. Like have a business license here, that if they choose to operate online or digitally, having a reduction in the fee. That way, we're not spending resources like fire and that because they don't have it to inspect.
Could you put the switch behind you and turn this off? I can see my- Much of my whole life.
He's a vampire.
Who's the vampire?
Thank you, Miss.
So, I wanted to add a couple of things here before we move on, or before we continue. Just for transparency purposes and just so that everybody understands, on that total anticipated revenue of the $15,182 million for the carryover funds, that's carryover funds that, explain it, Marla, please.
So we built the initial budget up to the $15,182,783.20, but we still had departments within the city that had purchase orders that they had planned on spending last year's money, but their PO carried forward to this year. Because we're in such a shortfall with the budget and so tight, we didn't want them to have to go and out of this year's money pay for last year's bills. So I went ahead and I added in all the carryover for everybody that had a purchase order still in their department from last fiscal year to this fiscal year, so that they're strictly paying this year's bills with this year's money and last year's bills with last year's money.
So that's the difference, 'cause if anybody has questions about how we went from the $15,182 to the $15,271, that's why. Also, again, for transparency purposes, obviously the revenue is $15 million, the city's never gonna see $15 million a year. The reason we have a $15 million revenue is because of the fact that we drew down so many grants that hadn't been drawn down, and that's where we pulled in that extra $3-4 million to help us even create a balanced budget. This has been a lot of work, a lot of work. Happy to do it, but I just want everybody to know that it took myself and my staff a long time, and we're still working on it. There's still a long ways to go. But I don't want maybe next year, unless we can find a way to increase our GRT, to say, oh, we should have $15 million budget because we had it last year. No, maybe if we can continue to draw down and we're smart about getting grants and getting grants correctly, and drawing them down correctly and making sure that agreements are executed before you start spending money. That's been a real problem here at the city that I've seen, is that they get grants, they spend, put them on the budget, that big BSR packet you guys have, and they spend on it, and either they never draw it down, or it was never even executed. The grant was never executed, and the city ends up eating it. So it's nobody's fault. I mean, people, there could have been turnover, there could have been issues. It's not a finger pointing. It's just we have to be better about the way we do things. And we need to make sure that people in the departments, the staff, everybody knows what's going on. Everybody doesn't jump ahead of themselves as soon as they think they have money. Because as soon as they think they have money, they can spend it rather than saying, okay, let's make sure we do it orderly so that we get the money back. And it's because people don't understand the processes. That's why. So that's what we're working hard to do, is make sure that we implement the right processes. I spent a lot of time with Department of Transportation the past few weeks, just trying to work out old grounds, figure out how we can draw them down if we haven't, make sure that the new ones that are coming through the legislative appropriations, because they also, people think because they're legislative appropriations, they just come straight from, I think, the governor. They don't. They come through departments. They come from like DOT, they come from DFA. So you have to deal with all these departments, and they also have, rules they have to follow in order for them to execute and reimburse us funds. So this was a lot of work, but that's why we have a $15 million budget. So it's not like we're anticipating 15 million. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that, including the public.
So, with that said, I think it's important
Just for
to
transparency.
always play the money side of business with caution.
Absolutely.
I think it's very critical that the staff understand that we've had a $12 million budget. Pedro, you can attest to that. We've had a $12 million budget forever. The fact that this is at 15 million, to be honest with you, it's a little scary to me. Because I look at it and I think that's almost a third, fourth, and jump.
Yeah.
And I understand what you guys did with the drawdowns, and that's amazing, because that was money that the city had already invested in some other projects. But that's not reoccurring, and we need to be realistic about that.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that I try to get departments to, like, it just everybody in general. Grants, they're great, they're wonderful. I was a grant manager for many, many years. I love giving grants, and I love, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's not recurring. So even if you, say you get a grant for, like police, unless you keep getting it and it's for sure, we hire people on, and that can be any department, and it doesn't need to just be downstairs in the example because he has them. You know, they don't reoccur, so what happens is the city absorbs that. So we might get some money for a year or two, but what happens 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road, we incur costs that we never anticipated. How do we come up with that money? How do we come up with, you know, stream through money for that? And it's any of them, you know, grants are better for like one-time purchases, like senior vehicles, we got those not too long ago, these cars, capital projects, one-time thing that when it's done, we get reimbursed when it's done. We don't have to keep doing it every single time. Retention funds, those are good. There are other grants out there, free money's always good, as long as you do it right. Because the other thing that a lot of people don't understand, and I know because I came from grant management, is if you, and anybody that knows it, been involved in grant management, is if you don't follow every single step, they're gonna say, oh, you didn't have a notice of obligation in place, sorry, we're not gonna reimburse you money. You didn't have an agreement signed, sorry. You didn't have a scope of work, sorry. Because they have rules to follow too. So that's one thing that we've done. So we got another 693,000 just before the end of, right at the beginning of the fiscal year. So it'll start our new revenue, of course, but we haven't even logged it yet. But that was another grant that was from 2 years ago. So it's helped us to get all the funds. So in a sense, it's bad all this happening, but in a sense, it's good because we were in a deficit that we needed to fix.
One thing I will say is I think it's important to have a drawdown schedule on every project. And I think that needs to be followed to the strictest limits. When the contractor is at a quarter, then you assess that, make sure that's where he's at, if you're gonna pay that out before anything like that happens. And then start that drawdown system right away so that the city is not sitting in invested money on a project when in all reality we don't need to if we do it correctly.
And I put that practice in place. That's what Marissa's doing now. So we have a little bit of a process now where she's doing the grants as soon as she draws down a grant, and I'm usually helping her with it. You know, we're both working together. She goes and processes it through AP because as soon as somebody pays something, she's taking it back right away. This needs to get drawn. Then Marissa draws it down. She tells Mara that revenue is expected so that we're not waiting a year or two, even if it's a big project, just because you get a $3 million for a $3 million project doesn't mean you wait 3 years to draw the money down. Every time we spend, unless there's a rule in the grant, we can only do it quarterly, because like DFA has some requirements so that you can draw down the grant quarterly. But most of them, as you spend, you can draw it down. You spend 100,000, you can get reimbursed 100,000. So I hope that practice continues to work for us.
And then the other thing to keep in mind is that there are different fiscal years for different grants. Federal timelines are different from state timelines are different from city timelines. So it's very critical that we understand when those are coming to their fiscal end, because we need to be on top of it and make sure that we're utilizing it to the fullness of the limit of the grant. Because if we're returning money, it's like giving money back, and that's crazy. We don't like to do that. So let's try and utilize all the grants that we can to the best of our ability and draw them down with precision and professionalism so that we can cover this whole thing. I want to extend a special thank you to you girls, because I know that you were encumbered with years and years and years of drawdowns that have not happened. And that's really not fair to you as a person that comes into a new job and you're having to unscramble a budget that you might not really be too clear about, and maybe nobody else is really too clear about. But what you did with finding that funding and realizing that that was a big issue that had not happened, and putting the energy and effort into solving that problem is a really big deal for me. You guys did an amazing job. You probably saved the city $4 million or more in trying to pull that money into our community. That's amazing. And you think about that in its total, that's not chump change. You guys deserve a big thank you from this governing body and from the constituents of the city of Espanola for the work that you're doing. You're doing amazing work for us, and I want you to appreciate it and know that finding that money made all the difference in this year's budget, and we continue with the city for another year with a balanced budget, looking like we're going to be able to provide the services that our constituents need. And I can't begin to thank you guys enough for the job that you do. So beyond just the filing of state documents, beyond DFA, beyond all of that, that drawdown to me is make or break for this community. Serious.
She's gonna cry. She's gonna cry. She's
4,
gonna cry.
5, 6
She's
years
gonna cry.
of no drawing down
She's crying.
projects that we've paid for, that the governing city has paid for up front and is eating because nobody has the wherewithal of putting in the paperwork to finish up and get paid back. That's crazy. We cannot do that. We have to have processes in place to ensure that this city is getting
She's blaming other people. She's blaming other people.
We can't just do the projects and say, oh, we got
Yeah,
capital, and
look
then
at her.
we
It
get
looks all wasted.
So
All
I
that
can't
stuff.
thank you girls enough for the work that you do. I know that you're here at all hours, and I appreciate all your hard work and your commitment to the community. That goes beyond your scope of work and your 8 to 5, and I thank you from my whole heart.
But they get paid.
Appreciation.
They get
That's why we're
paid.
here. And I told you guys at the beginning, I came to try to help the city, not for any other reason. So that's,
Yeah, right.
that's why we're here.
You're right. She's full.
Anybody that thinks differently, they're more than welcome to come to my office anytime and help out there, because I would love the help, because I'm so overwhelmed. But, you know, I would like to tell you, I found most of the issues, I'm not gonna say no drawdown for ever not done. I don't want that ever to look like but there were a large amount, and there still are some, I'm still working on one that I have to get extended, from the Department of Transportation. But my staff has worked really hard, so I would like to give kudos to my staff, to Marla, to Marissa, to Emma, all of my staff has really worked really hard. I know not all of them are here today, but like little Marissa, she was brand new to grant. She knew nothing when I got here, nothing. And she was so willing to learn, and I taught her, and she loves it. In fact, she told me, she's procurement now. And I told her, okay, good, now that I hired an analyst, now we can take some grants off. She's like, I really like grants, though. I really want to do, I want to keep doing it. I'm like, I love that initiative. But she, you know, they've all done it. But if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't have got done, because it took a lot of manpower, it took a lot of time. There was a lot of federal grants. I'm sure you can ask Chief Garcia. He spent many hours with Marissa sitting there trying to draw down grants. I mean, everybody knows that's here. All the directors know. She spent a lot of time, so And I thank everybody for their patience, council, directors, everybody. I know it's difficult when you have to follow rules and you don't want to, or you want something really quick, but unfortunately, that's not the way finance works. And unfortunately, if we don't do things right, we're gonna continue on with the audit issues that we have, and audit issues that I inherited that we're trying to fix. And in order for us to continue to borrow money, or to even receive any of those legislative appropriations that we're talking about, or grants, we have to get our audits clean. And in order to fix audits, we have to fix what was broken and make good, better, make what was good better. So it's a day by day thing, it really is. But anyways, with that said, if anybody knows anybody that's, we're always looking for new staff, I'm still short staffed, so if the public is listening, it would be great for people to come and offer to help or come on. The grant specialist, I just filled the financial analyst, I have the accounts payable, customer service supervisor and utilities. That's it, just those three. But it's three people down is a lot, because out of just in finance, that's not, looking at utilities, there's 1, 2, 3, 5 of us. Payroll, I haven't pulled her on anything because she's brand new, so she's just doing payroll, but Emma, Marissa, and Marla, and myself do at least 2 or 3 jobs each.
And one thing I'd like to mention, for those of you that don't really understand the position that April and I have come into, the best description I can give you is what we've come into is like walking into someone else's kitchen to cook a meal with someone else's groceries and deciding how we're gonna make it. Nothing has been anything that we've chosen. We've just had to deal with what we were given.
Hey, Rob,
and
is
trying
that
to
true?
better picture
Is
it.
that true, Rob? Rob Crockery, is that true? That you're on here, bro? And over here throwing you under the bus again, Rob. They're saying that the budget you did last is fuck. They don't want to say your name, Rob.
Time to understand change for the staff. Sometimes we're not thrilled when people change things up on us. So I think
They're throwing you under the bus, Rob.
and I also believe that it just takes understanding between two professionals to get to a place where people can work together in harmony.
They just don't want to say your name.
And we can pull our hairs out.
I agree, we're all here for one reason, that's for the best interest of the city, so we all work together, we could accomplish our common goal.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing to that. I just want to mention really quickly something that my other share is a little bit of frustration, and that's how the respect doesn't seem to flow. You know, so I really want everybody to understand that these ladies deserve the most utmost of respect for what they've been through, because dealing with a budget, especially that was in the turmoil of this one was, I mean, I don't know who knows, but I think the planning director and everyone else has to take that respect because I know it's been a long road for you, and I still see it in you guys' soul. And it's not over yet, but it will. Once we got it, we done it.
I always say it gets worse before it gets better, so I think we're headed in the right direction.
Call me at night.
Thank you.
Good. All right, call for a 5-minute recess now.
There's a, is that okay with the council, do we need to have a vote? So we're just gonna reconvene at 7:15.
Let me see it right.
What are you doing? No, we're still at the meeting. How was your day?
They're having a 5-minute recess. Some people need to go use the restroom.
So, yeah, we had talked to her about it, and then we got the street signed, and they wouldn't do it because it's same country. Might as well.
So he's been donating to. That's like, she is, no. Jeanette, we're gonna have to drag her with. We'll drag her with to go get a tent. So that, I'm gonna auction up. So then my friend.
Yeah. So, is there any way we
Yes.
can talk to you guys about it, but it's not and they won't do it.
They're all stressed. Even this lady who likes to violate people's rights. Carla Martinez, city clerk. I don't know who's worse, her or Esperanza. No, they don't. They call people point of order. They don't like info about other people. This city doesn't like any of that.
It almost did. I know, I didn't go to people around that I really. I found out afterwards. Yeah.
Did she call you or did you? So it's like one of those things. Do we have a contact, Susan? Maybe that would be another option too, is giving her a contact. What if
Supposedly, this budget that they're presenting tonight is not. The public can't see it because it's not an approved budget.
Yeah, so probably
They're in violation of the Inspection Public Records Act in the state of Mexico.
yeah, you want to also.
Believe me, we have people.
We went out there. Yeah, we went out there and looked at it. So, so if we go up there, if I see the guys up there, I see the guys up there.
Completely proud of you.
I'll go look at it again tomorrow. Because I think Paul was actually going to go back out there to that was one of his game plans.
That's Mr. Burns. We call this guy Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. He looks exactly like Mr. Burns.
It was a nice beach too. I think it was she said that there's a homeless that was sleeping in the bed.
Oh, yeah, gosh. And then, she's gonna throw me some people. I have to stop there, but I didn't have time to stop there today. For tattoos. They're from my tattoo guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we want them separate.
We'll do the benefit.
Yeah.
We'll tell them, you don't need the president, you should say vacation. Right, and then you can post it on social media.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the flyers hopefully. I should have time on Friday to stop by.
Maybe she was like, she is my intern, she.
Well, when we- Poor Lucia was passed out.
That's why we stopped by, I'll stop by and check.
Yes.
I knew she could see the back. I'll stop in the morning.
Yes. She's usually good in the morning. I'll text her just to make sure that. What is it? Yeah, well, I'm still working, I still got messages, and then, Denise and I are gonna go out and
All right, we're gonna reconvene, folks. The time is 7:20, 5 minutes over. Thank you, April.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I didn't realize that everything wasn't up on the screen for me to see. So thank you for helping me with that. So last we went over, we were going over, the general fund budget for FY 25, expected revenue expenditures, I explained to you the, carryovers from FY 24. The next page I'm gonna skip, but don't say this one, I'm talking about the one in your packet that says enterprise fund, we'll come back to that one because I'd like to refer to the next page that's up on the screen. We just wanted to do this also for, a different type of, wait. Go back. You go back one second.
You're going to use the other pie, right?
Yes. We put some charts in here, so it's just easier on the eyes.
Oh, yes, I love this.
Depending on your financial status. Everybody sees things different, so we were just trying to, be able to speak to the audience and everything, understand everything. Okay, now go to the next page. That's the enterprise. Go down one. Down one? Yeah, and then fourth? Yeah. There we go. Alright, so there's a kind of a picture of what I just explained to you. So this is City of Espanola FY 25 general fund anticipated revenue of 15,271,377.58. That's just a little pie chart to show you, that it's made up of, six different categories, which is local taxes, state share taxes, licenses and permits, charges for services, fines and forfeits, various, and carryover, which is really small. So that's just a quick glance at the, anticipated revenue. And then we'll go to the next slide. Skip that one, because that's right, enterprise, we'll come back to that one, we'll go over enterprise. Got one. Go one more, go down. You want four? Yes. That's four. Three? No, go down.
Counselor Shaw's report says that you can't hear anything.
So this is the expenditures,
Can you check on that one?
oh wait.
Counselor Salazar Flores, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Still sound very far away, but I can make out what you're saying.
Okay, so I hope you heard what I said, Counselor, about the two slides that had the anticipated revenue on a pie chart, so you can cross-compare that to the numbers. The next slide that's up on the screen is the general fund department budgets. So instead of just seeing a bunch of numbers, you can actually see it broken down by each department, all the way from the smallest percentage of the governing body, which is 1%. So you'll see governing bodies, 1% of our budget, central administration is 13%, parks is 2%, streets is 4%, finance 3%, city attorney 4%, city manager 4%, city clerk 2%, general fund fire department 13%, community services fund, oh, because it's rolled up. It's less than 1% for community services department. Community development is 1%, general services fleet 3%, recreation youth is in there, it shouldn't be in there, that's not a department. Recreation department 4%, senior citizens 2%, IT 3%, police department 28%, human resources 1%, general services 4%, library 1%, planning 2%, municipal court 4%. So this is just a big picture for everybody to see, what our budget is built up and how much comes out for each department. So it ties into that first page I originally showed you. Let's see. I think that's it for the general fund. If you want to move on, unless you have questions on general fund, we can move on to enterprise.
That's fine.
So I apologize if you have to go back. All the way, I'll tell you where to stop. Right there. Right there. Thank you. Okay, so up on the screen, you'll see the FY25 enterprise fund. We have an FY25 budget for water, $2,766,588.20. FY25 anticipated expenditures is $2,766,580.20 for the variance of zero. Wastewater, $3,589,326.41 with expenditures of $3,589,326.41, zero variance. Solid waste, $3,014,727.66 and anticipated revenue, same number, $3,014,727.66 with a variance of zero. Which brings our total revenue, total expenditures $9,370,642.27. Our anticipated revenue is $7,359,452.30. Thus, our anticipated expenditures are $9,370,640.42.27. Prior year reimbursements that we brought into here to try to balance out the enterprise fund is $1,446,053.85, which brings the enterprise fund balance to a negative variance of $565,136.12. There were expenditures carried forward from FY 2024 on a total of $1,311,242.24, which will pay for the sanitation trucks and the landfill disposal charges that we still have encumbered from fiscal year 24. As you can see, the enterprise fund balance is negative because we don't have enough revenues or anticipated revenues coming in to carry out the enterprise fund. I put this in here just as a reminder that if we approve the rate increases that I proposed and Public Works Director Elijah Modis proposed, that would bring an anticipated revenue from the rate increase of $792,000, which will tremendously help us to at least balance the budget for the enterprise. I did not add that in because DFA has asked me to hold off on that. I did let them know that we were, I was trying to get approval for that. They told me not to put that in, to anticipate it until it's approved, and at that time we can do a bar. If it's
We
approved.
are advertising that, correct, Matt?
We froze positions, the council at the meeting for the interim budget, so I think that needs to be discussed later on tonight.
But the increase in utilities has been advertised?
Oh, I'm not aware of that, I'm sorry, I was here to get the salary stuff.
I'm just wondering where we're at with that. Do you know if we advertised that for a rate increase?
I know there's a public works meeting that's upcoming, I'm not sure what those agenda items contain.
Sorry.
Mayor, and councilors, it's been vetted before the finance committee and the public works committee. So now it just needs to be advertised to the public as moving forward, yes, sir, is moving forward before the governing body makes its final decision on the rate increases.
Okay, so we're estimated to come back to council in another 30 days? Okay.
But I don't think we need to do first reading, because we've already gone through that. Each of those committees has different members, which is a consensus of the council, so I didn't we need a first?
No, Mayor. Counselor Duke, for instance, he sits both on finance and public works.
So that was Justin didn't get it, so, at all, because he sits on the two committees about it. So, I think it's very important that we follow it, letter of the law, and go ahead and have the first reading, second reading, whatever that is. I think the first reading requires 2 week advertisement.
Well, I just wanna make it clear, to my understanding, I don't even think you need to advertise the first reading.
Ordinance?
No, you just have to advertise for final adoption. We've been doing that just so that everyone has the ability to take it and digest it, and then we bring it back. But my understanding is we don't even have to advertise it for the first reading.
Can we make sure that we're following the letter of the law where adoption of an ordinance is concerned, and doing the advertisement, and then at the next meeting, have some kind of report as to what the timeline is gonna look like for this body?
I'll verify that with the city attorney.
Thank you.
I also think, on something this important and possibly controversial, we should probably, stick to precedent rather than breaking it.
I have a question concerning, thank you, Mayor. Concerning the, enterprise fund and the expenditures, I'm curious about where the money to pay the federal is on that fund.
It is in, let me pull up the BSR, if you want to look at the BSR, not the final page. So it is, broken up between water and wastewater. I think I showed this to you guys. One second.
I want to look at it then.
It's gonna be in the 500s.
Gonna be under,
I believe it's the rent of land and buildings, but I will verify, which would be on page 58. So if you go to 58, did you find the public utility fund?
yeah.
Okay, and then so remember, it's broken up between the three, half and half, the water and the wastewater?
Right, that's where it looks like that. Okay, I just want to make sure that we have it in there.
Yes.
Thank you. Anybody have anything else that I'm gonna make a motion to go ahead and approve this final budget?
Mayor. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah,
Mayor, Pro Tem Councilors, April, as it pertains to utilities, I'd like to see that position become a managerial position instead of a supervisor position, and the sheet, the salary schedule,
Under what department?
utilities.
The person,
Right now, April has it listed as a supervisor.
what page?
It's on,
In the very, very top, there on the salary schedule.
it's on the very bottom of the third page of the salary schedule.
At the very, very bottom of page 4. Yes, it says utility finances to a vacancy.
Utility finance.
Yes.
Oh, she does have this customer service manager. Thank you, April.
That's the right amount that you want?
Is it possible, April, that we increase this so we can attract
So this, it actually is $1.50 more.
I am on, page 4.
That's okay.
So it's saying we have.
It says vacant utility finance customer service
Oh,
manager.
I got it. So it's advertised at $25?
The max for the position is $26.50, but Marta had put in 25, she corrected it. She said she corrected it on DNA side, she missed that one. But it is, I know how much it is.
it up possibly to 29? Is that possible, Marty? If not, I mean, we can leave it in the budget, so.
Well, if you can get the rate increases, approved, then probably.
So it falls under the enterprise, April?
Mhm.
Okay.
So we'll leave it at 26 until,
2650.
until, yeah, till the rate increase hits. At that point, he can raise it to that, if that's necessary. Okay, motion to approve.
Motion to adopt, forgive me, motion to adopt resolution 2024-33, acceptance of approval of FY 25 budget, Airport Chief Peggy Sue Martinez. Second by Councilor Pedro Valdez. Is there any discussion? Councilor Ledoux.
April, I can't seem to find it in the budget here, but I saw in previous budget, proposals that the wastewater revenues seem to be particularly high. And then I saw some interesting things in the fees, like for instance, there's a projected revenue of like $168 or something like that in the animal service fee. Like, pretty small, like, little budget errors.
I don't think it's a budget area council, that's what we're getting, fees is $168.
Is that just because of lack of enforcement?
People aren't registering their pets for that one.
I'm trying. Is there any way that we could work closer with the shelter so that when they're doing their vaccinations and their stuff at that shelter, they just add that fee on our behalf?
We just had this talk.
Well,
Possibility?
why is this projected to so low then? Like, is that just based off previous years?
Nobody registered for them.
I know, but then why is it not zero?
Well, not
There is
nobody,
a
nobody, there are
few
people.
people. San Diego.
The dog-
Carla, is Walter registered?
Oh my God, I haven't answered.
They won't let you speak.
I know.
They're assholes. Like that guy's an asshole.
People are used to it, yeah. But that actually, you know what, not used to it, that ordinance has been on the books since the eighties.
It's never been enforced.
But it's not enforced.
It's never been enforced.
Exactly.
It's never been enforced.
It will be.
And it's a good source of revenue
It
for
will be.
pet owners, to be honest with you.
So I know that the ordinance is also indicates it's the clerk that's responsible, if you could set up a meeting, Madam Clerk, with the animal shelter,
I can help
maybe
you set
animal
that up.
control. To facilitate a meeting.
Ready?
So I have a motion and a second on the floor to adopt the budget for FY 2025. Do I have any further discussion? There being none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor?
Councilor Aaron J. Salazar,
In favor.
Till I get past.
Councilor Pedro Valdez,
Yes.
That's gonna get past.
Councilor Samuel Ledoux,
No.
Councilor Nanette Rodriguez, Councilor Denise Benavides,
Ooh, she
Councilor
lied.
Felicia Chuleta Toya,
In favor.
Councilor Justin Salazar Torres,
Denise.
Just wanna make sure.
you are voting on resolution 2024-33, acceptance and approval of the FY 2025 budget as presented.
Okay, thank you, in favor.
Motion passes 7-1.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, April and Marla, for all the hard work you've done to put together this budget. You have now the hard job of inputting it and getting it uploaded to DFA by the deadline, so thank you. All your work. Thank you. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Later, guys. Thanks for stopping.